everyone, welcome back to Mental Health Chats. I'm here today with Tony Cullen. Thanks so much for joining us, Tony.
No worries, thanks for having me.
So, talking about mental health today, but before we get started, can you just let us know a little bit about yourself?
I've been a barista for a little under half of my life. I'm a tech head and nerd, and I've been struggling with bipolar for my whole life, obviously.
So, you mentioned mental health in your introduction. What do the words mental health mean to you?
Well, depending on the scenario, it can mean multiple different things, but in general, mental health is how your brain reacts to situations in specific scenarios or in general over time, because mental health can obviously change with every passing moment for someone like me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good explanation, that sort of how do you respond to moments, or how do you think about moments, or how do you feel about moments? And do you mind sharing a little bit about your story with mental health?
Well, when I was 12 or 13, I had my first bout with depression. I don't know, just started getting really, really sad, and there's always the typical teenage angst at that time. But it just kind of came across as worse for me than it did for my friends and stuff like that who weren't suffering anything. I had a lot of friends that were going through some trauma or some mental health issues from a relatively early age, but other than them, my other friends seemed happy and bubbly, and there was nothing wrong. Life was always good. And as my teenage years progressed, the depression side of things would just start to get worse. I'd started to notice by the time I was 15 that I'd be relatively erratic when it came to my moods and stuff. That's when I started talking to my high school counselor, Mel, who was absolutely amazing, which is few and far to say when it comes to mental health in high school, or at least back then. I don't know what it's like now, obviously. And yeah, she's there's the possibility of bipolar, stuff like that, but it's far too, you're far too young to be able to be diagnosed with something like that. So yeah, I just kind of kept on plodding along with some mental health assistance from her. Over the next couple of years, things eased up with the lack of all the excess hormones and stuff of which you go through your teenage years. So that kind of got a little bit easier, but I'd never, up until I was about 21, from the age of about 15, I'd been self-harming to try and cope with what was going through my head. And then I went up seeking help when I was about 24, I think it was. Got my diagnosis as bipolar type 2, if memory serves. Crap, it might have been type 1. I'm terrible with numbers. And then obviously started getting medicated and stuff, and found that helped a lot. Started to improve other scenarios in my life, had full-time job and things like that, which sadly I no longer have. So, thanks COVID. But such is life, I'll find something else. But yeah, that basically brings us up to now, pretty much. I'm in a healthy, happy relationship. Friggin' got my first apartment with just the two of us. Yeah, everything's going on the up and up until COVID hit and screwed everything else.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear your story, and thanks for being so honest as well.
Yeah.
Do you mind just explaining for people who might not know, how would you explain bipolar?
Bipolar, there are several different forms of bipolar, from cyclothymia to bipolar type 2, all different varying degrees of how your brain reacts to said scenario. For me, I had erratic mood swings. I'd be fine, happy and dandy, having a good old chat with someone 1 minute, and then I'd be flying off the handles over the tiniest little thing. I could also like be fine like at one stage and then be hyper depressed the next, or just hyper in general. I'd be like at work being like placid and normal like all my other co-workers, and the next thing you know, you'd see me skipping down the hall like a crazy person. You know, you can go through moment to moment changes where you'll be just fine, like you'll be looking like someone else down the street, and next thing you know, you'll be the moodiest son of a bitch that you'd ever seen. So that's what bipolar was to me. Like it was just to and fro, whiplash of emotions is a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I guess those extremes that didn't really represent what you wanted or who you were, they were just really extreme for you.
Precisely.
And do you think that you've sort of gone through challenges that have made you stronger through going through this journey?
Obviously, like, you have relationships and you break up, and, that's extra depressive when you've got depression or bipolar and stuff. Like, it really hits you hard at stages like that. Like, you do your best to try and find coping mechanisms, and sometimes they're not the healthiest thing that you can come across. Like, I started off with self-harming. That was my main coping mechanism for a long time. But yeah, like, you'll find, like anyone, you'll have your ups and downs, but it can just be so extreme when you've actually got some form of mental illness.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing some of the things that you do to keep yourself well?
Well, I play a lot of video games to my better half's dismay. I found my real wake-up call to how to cope with depression is just getting up and continuing. Like, there's a video game series, you may have heard of it, called Dark Souls. I actually did a small article on my Facebook page that was shared by Shoutout a couple of years ago that was basically how Dark Souls had actually helped me start coping with my depression in a better format, because Dark Souls, the first game's like special edition version type thing, or re-released with all of its DLCs, whatever, was called the Prepare to Die edition, because you were literally going to die a hell of a lot in that game, but you're basically what they call a hollow or an undead. And you die and you wake up at this bonfire and you keep on going, and it is one of the most punishing video game series that you ever come across. And I realized that that's similar to depression. Like, it's gonna bat you down and beat you up and all but kill you, and then you're just gonna have to get back up and do it all again. There's no if, buts, and maybes about it. Like, if you're going to continue with life, then you need to get up and move forward. Figure out a way around that last hurdle and get past it.
Yeah, and that just like finding something that is just like, this is my one thing today, and whether that's, doing a video game, whether that's doing, getting out of bed, whether that's like that one little thing that just is like, yeah, it was something, it's all right.
Yeah, there's a good song by Amanda Palmer called Good Day, and it's going on about things like I took out the trash today, I'm on fire, that's literally part of the lyrics to it. And for years it was one of my favorite songs, still is today, I guess.
Yeah, I think finding those little things that connect, and just also knowing that there's other people who are going through this, and my feelings and what I'm going through is real, but sometimes it feels so extreme it's not real.
Yeah, like you'll find that some people, you'll find over time that there's a lot of people that are kind of shoo-ins. They'll turn around and say things like, oh yeah, no, I was sad one day, rah, rah, rah. But it's like, there's a difference between being sad and being depressed, like being actually depressed. You can be sad, but not be depressed. When you can feel sad and still get up in the morning type thing, but that doesn't mean that you're suffering from something like depression,
And as mental health becomes more talked about, we do use the words depression and anxiety a lot more in our everyday language, but it's not always actually the most respectful word unless you really are talking about depression and anxiety.
Yeah, precisely. Like, it can be one of those words where it's just kind of thrown about willy-nilly, you know, like, oh yeah, no, I was depressed, but were you depressed or were you sad? Like, it's one of those questions that people don't realize that there is a distinctual difference between the two.
Yeah. Tony, it sounds like you're doing really well right now and you really are managing your mental health. But do you still have some things that you start to notice if you are becoming a little bit unwell?
Yeah, like I'll have days when like you'll know it's a bad day if I don't want to play any form of video game, unless it's, you know, just the factor of I want to sit on the couch with my missus, you know, that's fine. Like you can, you know, not do what you love to do and still be fine. But yeah, like if I don't feel like, if I really don't want to play video games or I don't want to watch TV or whatever, like if I just want to sit down and do nothing, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that's the big call really. But yeah, there's other things like I'll just feel low and kind of, I wouldn't say in a foul mood, because I usually manage to pick myself up before I reach that kind of a point. But like I'll just be low and have no energy and not want to do anything, and like if that starts at one stage, it will just keep on going and just turn into a snowball effect. You know, so I've got to wake up and I've got to figure something out that, you know, what's good today. My better half, you know, she's amazing. She's always supportive. You know, like things like that. You look for the little, like the good things in life, and that'll help, you know, bring you out of that rut.
Yeah. What are some things that you like people around you to do if you think that you're struggling a little bit? Is there helpful things?
I've gone for so long without having anyone there that I kind of just don't expect anyone to try and help anymore. Like it's always good when they do, and like the best thing you can do, I guess, is probably just give us a hug and tell me it's going to be all right. Like it's kind of corny and, you know, the cheese thing to say, but it works. You know, it helps out.
Yeah, just that someone just showing that they're there for you or sitting next to you, rather than having to know everything or trying to have a long conversation. Sometimes it's just the being.
Yeah, like just sometimes the long conversation can just be a daunting idea, and you're just like, no, I don't want to have to put up with that. You know, I just want to lie here and curl up in a ball and have someone stroke my hair.
We all want that sometimes.
That's just it. It feels nice.
Exactly. Tony, my next question is, do you feel like you've got any positives from going through mental health problems or having a mental illness?
I feel like it helps strengthen you in a way that people that don't suffer from mental illness don't understand. Like, I know many people that have gone through the same sort of crap that I do, or worse even. But the one thing we all seem to have is, you know, the fact that we manage to get up every day and just keep on pushing through. Whereas like something big hits someone without mental illness and sometimes they can just lay in bed for a week. Like I can't even do that nowadays. I have to get up, you know?
Yeah, I guess a strength in your everyday.
Yeah, resolve, I guess.
And so people might be feeling pretty stressed right now just because the world is a little bit crazy in multiple ways now. Like it seems to be overwhelming sometimes to watch the news or hear things and all these changes. As someone who's managed a lot of different experiences and has managed their mental health for a long time, do you have any advice or any ways that people can cope with all of this change?
First step, stop, breathe, and think about the scenario. Second is stop listening to the like heavy mainstream media that are just either demonizing everything around you or like, oh my God, the world's going to end. And find something that's not focusing so much on the negatives. Like granted, there's plenty of negative happening in this world right now, but it's not all bad. Like there's going to be something good that pops up every now and then, you know, like whether or not you look forward to the next SKU of CPUs that's going to drop later, or, you know, coffee shops and bars reopening, you know, like it could be anything, but there will be something decent happening somewhere around you. There always is.
Yeah, I love that. Just like stop listening so much to all that negative. But if you are, find like the one good little story or the one thing that excites you or ignites you.
Precisely.
Nice. Well, we're about to finish up, but I did want to give you an opportunity to sort of say anything you wanted to say or reiterate something for people, so we just to finish up with.
Nothing much other than stop, breathe, think, and just contemplate what you're going through and just know that it's not that bad.
Tony, it's been such a pleasure to have a chat, and thanks for being so honest. I think people will find it really helpful. And yeah, I hope we can have you again sometime soon to do things with 221.
Anytime, let me know.
Thank you, and thanks everyone. Please keep improving your wellness.